All right, welcome back. This is episode 7 in my multi-cloud network architecture video series. And in this episode, Dana Systems is being audited, security audit, due to the recent acquisitions that were made. If you recall, in the previous episodes, we acquired a company called Kinder, or an app called Kinder. And so we have some new security requirements. Number one, the Dana Systems employees, the original ones, they need to have full access to all clouds. But the Kinder employees, the employees that were acquired during the Kinder acquisition, they should only be able to manage Azure subscription configurations. Then we have contractors, and all they're supposed to be able to do is access the useful tools section, like building VPCs, deleting VPCs, and whatnot. We also have NOC operators, and all they should be able to do is use the troubleshooting section of the UI. Lastly, all of this should be accomplished through the use of Okta SAML authentication. Let's get to it. So let's do a quick overview of what I already have configured in the Aviatrix controller. If you go under access accounts, you can see that I have 3 accounts already configured. I have a Google account, I have an AWS account, and I have an Azure subscription. Now, a single Aviatrix controller can manage hundreds of accounts and subscriptions. In this case, I only just have one of each. You could even tie certain users to only be able to make configuration changes to certain accounts within the controller, which is pretty powerful. In this case, we're just going to leverage the 3 that I have here. If we go under account users, you can see that I have 2 locally configured users. I have the admin user and I have a Copilot user. I'm using that for my Copilot instance to log into the controller. But we're not going to use these. What we're going to do is leverage the Okta to have the database of our accounts and tell Okta to map those to different role-based access control groups. If we go under permission groups, this is where you create role-based access control groups. We'll be creating some new ones in here momentarily. To review the SAML configuration for identity integration with Okta, go under settings, click controller, click SAML login, and here you'll be able to see your SAML endpoints, and you'll be able to create a new SAML endpoint to connect to Okta. Now, I've already created one to save us time. Just read our documentation on how to do that. It'll step you through it. It's not that hard. But if you want to see what it looks like, click the Add Update button, and you can see all the fields that you need to input that you can get this information from Okta to configure the SAML endpoint. It's really straightforward. Make sure you click Set by SAML IDP Attribute if you're doing role-based access control via SAML. The reason for that is because SAML is going to pass the group name to the controller, so the controller knows what access to give that user when he or she logs in. We can quickly review the Okta configuration as well. It's pretty straightforward. You create a custom app, I call it RBAC, and if you look at the general information of that custom app, you'll see there's some pretty straightforward configurations here. The single sign-on URL, the audience restriction, those are 2 things you need to configure. Everything else is pretty much default except for this additional attribute statement. I call it profile, and I created a value called user Aviatrix RBAC profile. After that's configured, you need to also edit the profile editor underneath here, under the Okta user, click profile, and then make sure you add this Aviatrix RBAC profile. So what we're going to do is we're going to see this in our user input area. So we're going to put the group names so that the controller knows what groups to use and what access to give that user when they log in. You'll see that in a second. Going back to the controller, the first thing we need to do are create those permission groups for the users that I laid out in the MCNA requirements for this episode. So the first thing is that we need to create an access for Dana Systems employees that have full access to all clouds. Pretty straightforward, right? So let's click Add New. Let's give it a name of Full Access, okay? Hit OK. Now we need to tell this group what it's allowed to do. So if we click that those dots there, you click Manage Permissions. Let's click New Permissions. And we're going to allow all permissions because that guy's allowed to do everything. Okay? So hit OK. Done. Now the next step for that group is to say, well, what accounts are they allowed to manage? So let's click Manage Access Accounts. And in the requirements, it was all accounts, right? So click All. Hit OK. Done. The next requirement was for the Kinder employees to have full access to everything, but only to manage Azure subscriptions. That's pretty straightforward. It's similar to what we just did. So click Add New. Let's give it a name of Full Azure Access and hit OK. Now let's go under that, hit Manage Permissions and add new permissions, and we're going to allow everything. Hit OK. But this time, when we specify the access accounts, we're only going to specify Azure. So add new. Where's Azure? Right there. This guy right there. Hit OK and done. What's the next step? Number 3, contractors can only access useful tools section. All right, so let's create a new one. We're going to call that contractor. Okay, hit OK. And we're going to manage permissions, add new. And what are they allowed to do? Troubleshoot only. Oh no, sorry, it was useful tools only. Hit OK. And then we need to specify which access accounts. We're going to say all of them. All right. And the next requirement was NOC operators. They have to only be able to access troubleshoot section. Okay. Let's call it NOC. Hit OK. Manage permissions. Add new. And they're only allowed to touch the troubleshoot section. All right. Hit OK. But they can do it across all accounts. Okay. Done. All right. That's it. The next step is to create users in Okta and tie them to these groups. So let's create our users. Under directory, you click people, click add person. It's going to be a normal user type. And so let's create our data systems employee who has access to everything. Let's call him Matt. His last name be Martinez. It's actually a buddy of mine. Let's do Matt Martinez at aviatrix.com. And we'll leave everything else default except for the password. Let's give him a password. I'm going to set this password. There's my password. You don't have to see it. Don't need to change it at first login. All right, save. Let's also create, got to create our, what's the next one we got to create? Our kinder employee. So add person, first name. Let's say it's going to be, what can we call him? We can call it Nick. And last name will be Kinder. So Nick at aviatrix.com to make life easy. And we'll set an admin password. All right, let's save that. I'm going to add another one. And that's going to be our contractor, right? Yeah. Let's call him Jim. Last name is, I don't know, Jim. No, let's call it Jim Contractor. All right, Jim at aviatrix.com. I'm not very creative. All right, set admin, and let's give it a password. All right, save and add another. There's a last one, and it's the NOC guy. The NOC guy will be Jason. Jason, the NOC guy. Jason NOC. Jason at aviatrix.com. Set a password. Save. Okay, we created all our users, but remember we have to tie our users to a particular group so that when they log in they get certain access. So let's go back to Matt. Let's click him, and we need to give him full access. So under his profile, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a section here called Aviatrix RBAC profile, and that's where we need to specify that variable. So hit edit, scroll to the bottom, and we need to give him full access. I think, what did we call it? Full access? Let's double check that. Full access, yes, that's what we called it. Okay, great. Save. Fantastic. Let's go back to people. Let's give the NOC guy access. So profile, hit edit, scroll to the bottom, and the NOC, what did we call it? I think we just called it NOC. Let's double check that. Yes, we just called it NOC. Save. All right, let's go to the people again, and we need to modify Nick's. So Nick, he got full Azure access. So if hit edit, I'm going too quick here. Full Azure access. Save. Okay, and I think there's one more, right? There's the contractor, Mr. Jim. All right, Jim, and we're going to click profile, edit, and I think I just created one called contractor. Yes. Let's go down, contractor. Save. And we're done. So let's log in as our first user, Matt Martinez. Matt's an employee of Data Systems, so he should have access to everything. So the first thing you need to do here is click SAML login, not the normal sign-in. The sign-in is for local auth. We're going to use the SAML auth. So click that. It should redirect you to Okta. There we go. And we're going to log in as Matt Martinez at aviatrix.com. And the password, you don't need to know it. Pop it in there. All right. Look at the top here. Profile, full access. Well, it goes away really quickly, but if you pause the video, you'll see it said full access there. Because that's the profile we put in his Okta identity. All right, if you look at the top here, he's logged in as RBAC user, Matt Martinez at aviatrix.com. So to test to see if he can do a couple things, he has access to everything. Let's go to the useful tools. Let's create a VPC. Let's create a new transit VPC just for the heck of it. New transit. Okay. And we're going to put that in the California region. And let's give it a VPC CIDR of 99.99.0.0 slash, I don't know, 16. Who cares? It doesn't matter. And yeah, it can be a transit VPC. So we hit create, and it should be successful. Yep, it was successful. Let's see if we can put a gateway in there. Let's click gateway. Let's click new gateway. Let's call it Matt's gateway. And let's throw it in California. Let's find that new one we created. New transit. Pick a subnet. I don't care which one it is. Some public subnet. T2 micro is fine. Let's just hit, I don't want to enable, disable VPN access. Let's hit create. All right, that should be successful as well. Yep, and Matt was able to create that gateway. You can see it was created. It's waiting for it to come up. It should be up here momentarily. Yep, it's up now. We should also be able to delete that gateway as well. If we go back to gateways, click it and hit delete, hit OK. Fantastic, it was deleted. And we can also delete that VPC we created. This guy right there, let's delete him. Should be successful. And there we go. So Matt pretty much has access to everything. I could really go through anything in here and it would allow me to do it without any restriction. Okay, next up is the Kinder employee, Nick. Nick should only be able to configure anything that has to do with the Azure subscriptions. So let's log in as Nick and test that out. Nick at Aviatrix, can't spell my own company name right, .com. All right, full Azure access. You can see profile specified. So let's go and try to configure something in Azure and then try to configure something in AWS and see if it blocks us when configuring it in AWS. Easiest way to check that is to just use the useful tools again, create a VPC, let's create a new one. So we'll first try to create something in Azure. So under Azure, give it a name, Azure test Kinder. Let's give it a CIDR of 55.55.55.0/24 and create it. Great, it was successful. Now, if I did everything right, it should block me from configuring something in AWS. So let's call this one AWS Kinder, and let's give it a CIDR of 66.66.66.0. That should block me pretty much immediately. Let's try that out. Create. Bam. The user does not have access to accounts Aviatrix Ops to perform the current action. Aviatrix Ops is my AWS account name. All right, it worked. And it should work for GCP as well. It should block me from building anything in GCP. Let's create subnet, blah, blah, blah. 66.66.6.6.0/24. Let's see, Asia East. Why is it in Asia? Let's just do something in US Central 1. All right, create. Bam, blocked. RBAC is working. Role-based access control is working. All right, so that one's good. Jim the contractor is next. So Jim the contractor should only have access to useful tools section of the UI. Okay, so let's try it out. Jim at aviatrix.com. Let's log in. There we go, contractor profile. So he should only have access to the useful tools section. So let's test it out. Let's go under useful tools and play with it a little bit. Useful tools, let's create a VPC again. Add new, AWS, that's fine. Jim's VPC. 44.44.44.0/24. Let's see if that works. Yep, that worked. We can probably delete it as well. All good. Let's see what else we can do under useful tools. Export to Terraform. Let's export some stuff to Terraform. Let's click that. Yep, that worked. It let me download it. Fantastic. Let's see. Let's try to do something that will block me. Let's try to build a gateway. Okay, let's put a gateway in some VPC. New gateway. Gateway name Jim's Gateway. Okay, let's put it in. Yeah, let's throw something in the transit fire in a VPC. That's fine. Shouldn't hurt anything. Okay, T2 micro, no VPN, hit create. There we go. User Jim at aviatrix.com is in group contractor is not authorized to perform operation create AWS gateway under use case gateway. Isn't that awesome? I love it. So RBAC is working for Jim as well. And finally, we need to check Jason's access. He's the NOC operator, and he should only be able to access the troubleshoot section of the UI. So let's check that out. SAML login, Jason at aviatrix.com. NOC right there. That's his access. It goes really quickly, but you can pause the video and see that. So troubleshoot should be the only thing he can access. Let's try that out. Scroll down under troubleshoot. Let's do a diagnostic. Let's run, I don't know, a ping or something. Let's run a ping from the West Transit. Let's do 8.8.8.8. Oops, I did a trace route. Okay, doesn't matter, same thing. Yeah, it looks like it worked. That was fast. Let's do a ping. Okay, yeah, it let me run the operation. Okay, 0% packet loss. It came back. Fantastic. Now, diagnostics is working, and anything underneath here will work. I can do flight path as well. Anything under troubleshoot will work. But let's go and try to create a gateway. It's a good example. All right, let's try to create one in Azure and see what happens. Azure test. Okay, this all looks fine. I don't need to mess with any of that stuff. Let's just hit create and see if it blocks me from creating that gateway. That's all I want to test, really. Yep. I was not authorized to perform operation create ARM gateway under use case gateway. So it didn't let me create that Azure gateway, which means that RBAC rule is being applied correctly. I'm only able to do the troubleshooting stuff. The NOC guys should only be playing with troubleshooting tools. All right. Fantastic. So that's it. That really does it. I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to create role-based access control rules and tie it to an identity provider like Okta. Now we support all sorts of identity providers, any SAML 2.0. So Azure, we can do Duo, anything really will work perfectly fine. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.